But where I live, the rainfall is higher than the other suburban parts of Auckland, and sometimes the temperatures are just not quite the same, but more like Lockie's. So you just have to, these are my ripening times, but yours may be a bit different. So here's how we go. This is the first lot, and this is running in a time sequence: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'll remind you as we go along. I brought in quite a lot of fruit from some of those tonight out in the tables outside. A lot of it has been demolished already. But anyway, we'll comment on it as we go. If you take any of the fruit that I brought, nothing is sprayed. I don't use any spray anywhere. No fruit skin has got any spray on it. Okay, so Ingrid, do you want to slide away somewhere else?
Yes.
I'll keep an eye on them so you don't do a run.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is a timeline for plums, and these are the plums that I have at home. I've got a few more than that, but they're not producing just yet, so we'll leave them off for this year. You may have, no doubt, some other plums as well, and you'll have some variations. So call out, let's join in, let's make it worthwhile, and please take whatever fruit you can afterwards. So here we go. We're up on this first one here. Wilson's Early is the sort of earliest well-known plum. There is a Birkdale plum earlier than that, but Wilson's Early is a plum that you can buy at the Plant Barn and all the rest. And December 14, it's fairly regular, December 14, December 18, before Christmas. And at that time of the year, as a family, you're keen on some fresh fruit for the season. And the children, if you've got them, or grandchildren, will be running after these sort of things. It's these indicate red is the skin, yellow is the inside. So it's red skin and yellow inside. It's quite a nice plum. It's good as the first one because it's what you're chasing. Then call out if you want to make a comment. Early Jewel, I always think of Bob Mann here about Early Jewel. Duff's Early Jewel, it's often called, comes just on the cusp of moving into the next year. Red on the outside, yellow inside, much more squishy, and the birds chase it like mad and will destroy it. Now, a caution on Early Jewel, it's what we call a shy fruiter. And they grow enormously. You'll have trunks like that and arms like that on the tree. And it's also thought of as being a pollinator, but I think you're better off with Santa Rosa as a pollinator. We'll get to that in a moment. If you've got an Early Jewel, you're going to be not very happy because not very often will you get much of a crop out of it. My recommendation is if you've got one, it'll be rooted strongly in the ground, cut the branches, graft something else into it. That's what I would do. Put a Fortune into it, or a Louisa into it, or Satsuma, something like that. Because you're taking up a huge amount of room in your garden or space where you've got them for not much return.
Yeah, with the Duff's Early Jewel as a kid in the South Island, that was a really good, reliable one in the South Island, but it just isn't reliable up here. They will fruit occasionally. They fruit if you abuse the tree, but you don't do that very often.
I did a drama on rescuing some wood from where Bob Mann lived, and I nearly got put in jail for it. But anyway, we grew it, and I gave Bob some, but still, Bob, it's not more wood and not much in fruit. There's a little fruit, January 1, Marabella. This is a Kay Baxter one when she was at Coanga Gardens up north. It's just a little one. It's very much like Wilson's Early. The yellowness inside is more pale yellow. Not a hell of a nice, but it fruits very prolifically. So if you've got a mob of children looking for something, Marabella will give you a crop every year.
I love Marabella, and my daughter is in South Africa right now.
Yeah.
I read up about the history of it, how the original tree came from South Africa, and my daughter is on the hunt for it. I asked her to hunt for it, but it may be under another name because she asked around, nobody knows Marabella.
Okay, well I've got Marabella, I'll give you one if you need. January 5, Scarlatina. Scarlatina is a relatively new plum. There are some on the table out there. They've almost fainted completely, but you'll get a taste of what it is. Deep red skin and deep red flesh, and quite a different sort of taste. It's actually very nice, Scarlatina. A standard plum that everybody would be familiar with is Billington. My ones have come and gone. Somebody mentioned, I think Lockie said there's some on the table. Billington is a good fruiter. It'll fruit consistently, which is what you want if you're going to spend your time growing plums. So Billington is a good staple plum. Wilson's early, then Billington, I reckon, if you're wanting to do things.
Are the Billington about an inch in diameter? Are they quite small plums?
Oh, they can become quite fat. Not too big. Sort of a middle-sized plum.
Oh, okay.
The ones up there I didn't quite see, but I'll have a look later on.
Brian, what do you think of Billington as a root stock?
Yeah, you could use anything as a rootstock if it'll grow. But Billington is a good staple plum. Then there's 3 yellow plums that come almost at the same time. Coast Golden Drop, which is an English plum. The only other English that I can have success with is Dash, etc. I find we're not cold enough up here, so I gave them up. Anyway, Coast Golden Drop, Whakapedo Gold. Whakapedo is up on Kaipara, the top end of Kaipara Harbour, Tenapai, Pahi, Whakapedo, etc. That's where that came from. Again, it's a K. Baxter one. And Wilderland Yellow, well, that's Wilderland Dan Hansen from Coromandel. Coast Golden Drop is really, really, really nice one. And I would have brought some today, but they've actually fainted on the tree completely. Whakapedo, there is some Whakapedo if they're still there on the table. It's very, very nice. And Wilderland Yellow would make 3rd out of the 3. But they're yellow inside, yellow on the outside. And the interesting thing is, perhaps birds don't recognise yellow, because I can leave these on the tree and the birds won't touch them, fly right past. Maybe a bird scientist will tell me that they don't recognise.
We've got as well a Wilderland and a Sultan next to each other. The Sultan just disappeared,
Yeah.
and the Wilderland had been all on it. We could enjoy them.
Yeah.
There are still 3 on the table, and I think the taste is really nice.
Oh, lovely.
If you like a nice tangy plum,
Yeah,
Wilderland
yeah.
Yellow's a good one.
So they're early Jan. A few last Whakapedo are still on, the others have fainted on at my place.
There's a third one, yellow one, which is under the name Zero.
Yes, that's
And
right.
that's very similar to Wilderland.
I've seen Shiro down Hawke's Bay, but I haven't grown it up here. Have you got it grown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it once here on
Oh, really?
on the table.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't got it grown.
Side.
Now, Santa Rosa is your best pollinator. So don't spend your time growing an early jewel for pollination. Use a Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa is a more slender tree. It will grow quite tall, but you won't take up so much garden space or land space with the Santa Rosa. It's come and gone already. They're all yellow, red and red and a sort of yellow-red stripe inside Santa Rosa. And then the plum at the moment that I love so much is Fortune, and I brought quite a lot of Fortune out there on the table. Maybe they've gone already, I don't know. But Fortune are a very large plum. They're very hard skin, and it came on January 14. It's still going, and I've got a lot on the trees still at home, and they actually pull themselves off the tree. They're such a big plum and a heavy plum. They actually pull themselves off onto the ground, and then the birds get stuck into them. But it's red skin, and it's got yellow flesh with red streaks when it's getting mature. Fortune, if you want to graft something in, graft Fortune. It's consistently a fruiter. If you're going to spend time growing trees, grow things that will consistently produce, not once in a blue moon. Where are we? That's the end of that one up here. Sultan, well, Lockie talked about Sultan being the squirty sort of plum it is. And
Setsuma.
well, that's,
Well, be aware of fakes.
no, Sultan is a squirty one. Satsuma is not so much. But Sultan is mine are just finishing. I brought some tonight. A big plum. And we were talking in the discussion beforehand about elephant heart. And when I first grew elephant heart, I thought it was a late Sultan. I couldn't work out what it actually was. And then I worked it out, or learned, that actually elephant heart looks very much like Sultan. in many ways, but it's actually a bit later plum. But Salted is a beautiful plum, very squirty, but very, very nice. Red. Mariposa is an old world plum. I've got one, it's red inside, red outside. It's an old world that's not a good plum because it has a rotten ring. It's a rotten piece of circular rot in them all the time, it never changes. But it's a plum.
Is that actually in the fruit or in the tree, in the wood?
It's in the fruit. Yeah.
Around the stone. Is that one that's
No.
around the stone? Or?
Well, it shows up on the outside.
Okay.
So it's just an old, well, it's a red plum. Burbank, my wife Mary, she likes Burbank best of all, and I did bring some Burbank tonight. They're just coming in now. I've brought some, but they're not quite fully ripe, but yours at your house might be. Red on the outside, yellow inside. Burbank is a very nice plum with a slightly different taste. January 30 I've got for Purple King. Purple King is again a bit like Early Jewel, grows a huge big tree and not so many plums. So it's a shy fruiter. It's actually a premium type of plum. It's a beautiful, beautiful plum. If only I could get it to grow more. People said throw lime around the tree, so I did that, but it's still ended up more Purple King out of it. There are a few there in the box here on the back tonight. But not a significantly good cropper. Doris is a lovely plum. Matty Dragicevic from the Orati Orchard down the road, he says he thinks Doris is the nicest plum of the lot. Very mild. We're going to go over the black Doris here in a sec. It's a very mild sort of plum. Red on the outside, yellow on the inside. It's ready, just ready about now in the next few days. And there's some Doris here. That is a very nice plum.
Is that sometimes called red Doris?
That's what I call it red Doris simply
Right.
because we've got this one being
Yeah.
black Doris. Now black Doris, we've jumped over to this thing now, is same time. One of the Dalmatian neighbours in Aratia told me, grow your black Doris on peach rootstock. She said black Doris can sometimes have a little bit of bitterness in it. You grow it on a peach rootstock and you won't get that. So that's a bit of deli wisdom. I'm in the process of doing it now. And there are a few black Doris here tonight, and I think they might be up on the table.
I grafted black Doris onto an apricot,
Oh, well, they're the same sort of,
and it's tremendously prolific.
yeah,
Oh,
good, well, they are. So apricot or peach, perhaps, yeah, an apricot as
So
well.
what's a plum cod?
Plum cod is not very nice. I grew it. Plum and apricot, but I grew it and it just was like fluff. You know,
Oh,
no,
nice.
no taste. Maybe someone here's
it's
got
very
it.
early. It's earlier than it'll be earlier than
Yeah,
it looks earlier.
it's way back up in this early part.
And it's I find. I
Is
think
yours
it's
nice? Have you got a good one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
mine,
nice, yeah.
mine was just so fluffy. I grafted something else over it.
The purple tinge on the skin. If you
Yeah.
make jam out of it, it actually colours the jam nicely.
Oh, does it really? Oh, that's good information. Now we're up to Louisa. Louisa's just coming in. I think there's a couple on the table, and I certainly brought some out there. Mine are just coming in now. Red on the outside, red yellow sort of mixture on the outside, yellow on the inside. But Louisa has become the real favourite of everybody in the last little while. But I don't see them commercially in the shops, and I think perhaps they're not commercially sold because they'll ripen on that tip at the end. It's a big plum, and then it'll just collapse. So,
Plus, they've got a little bit of the seed that breaks off.
oh, that's another issue. Yeah, that's true. So I don't notice them in the shops, but certainly as a homegrown fruit, Louise is lovely, and you can graft it, and it's consistent. Like in all of the years that I've had Louisa, you just got a top crop every year, and it's just coming now. So they'll expand. If we get a bit of rain, they'll blow right up. Okay. We've just got 2
Does
lots to go
anyone
this one.
grow Lucy, which apparently is a cross between Santa Rosa and Louisa, and maybe
For-
the Lucy does not have that problem like Louisa has.
Well,
Fortune.
I bought a Lucy a couple of years ago when it was released, and I haven't had fruit yet, but it's growing well. The little tag that I had said it was a cross between Fortune
In Louise.
and Louisa. So has anyone got a Lucy crop?
Yeah.
Yep. You have?
I'm like you, I bought one
Yeah.
about 3 years ago.
And then I managed to graft Lucy, and I got that to grow as well, but they're about that high up there. So I'm hoping the next year. So then, Raina, we'll find out whether the Lucy is.
Ours has already flowered 2 years, but
Yeah,
it didn't
fruit.
sit.
Well, to be fair, I had one fruit on, but the birds beat me to that. So anyway, it's up to Louisa. Louisa is beautiful and consistent. So that's a good one if you want to grow something, or you want to advise somebody, or if you've got a tree that you want to graft more than one thing onto it, put a Louisa in there. Another nice plum is Hawera. Hawera is a bit like Satsuma, but it's red, deep red skin, deep red flesh. Just coming in now. I brought a few tonight, but only a few. I've estimated it needs about another week. Hawera, very, very nice meaty type of plum.
Very vigorous tree.
True, yes, yeah, and they grow very close to the trunk. But it's a very nice plum. Satsuma, my dad reckons Satsuma was the best plum on the planet, and I actually think so too, simply because it's an everything plum. You can eat it, you can jam it, you can cook it, you can do a lot. It's not as fancy as some other plums, but it's a very consistent fruiter. I've got heavy crops of Satsuma this year on my trees, and it's just starting to ripen, and I think when it's really ripe, it's lovely. Like a lot of things, if you get it when it's not quite ripe, it doesn't taste all that nice. But like you mentioned, when the flavour's right up on things, that's beautiful. So I love Satsuma, and I've been converted to elephant heart. Colleen mentioned before a plum we called Helensville here in the club, and we had pieces of wood, and I took them home and grew them, and I called it Helensville each time on the tag, until I had an elephant heart beside it, and then I compared, and it's exactly the same. So, but I must say, elephant heart, it's like a sultan, but later on, a couple of weeks later, but it's very, very nice. It's a very lovely plum.
Pollinator for that one?
Pardon?
Pollinator for elephant heart?
Well, I use Santa Rosa for the lot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the fact that you've got multiple, well, you might have 3 or 4 trees in the area, not even in your house, garden, the pollination will be done. Remember that the bees will go 5 k's in the road, in a distance, in a radius, so bees will go 5 k's away and bring back something, do your pollination. So I reckon as long as there's another plum of some sort, either in the neighbour or nearby, you'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, to give you an idea, my plums are cropping like hell now, but I've got bees on the place, and I haven't got a Santa Rosa amongst them. And it was my trouble with bees, because I was too cool, and they just weren't flying.
I've got Asquillian bees, plums in the neighbourhood,
Yeah.
but in an elephant heart that flowers beautifully, and it's about 4 or 5 metres high, and it's got 1 fruit on it.
You got the same
I
problem.
don't know what
Your
to do.
elephant heart, is it freestone or clingstone? Because Waimari says it's freestone. Waimari says that
well-
elephant heart and Hawera are clingstone. Oh, sorry, freestone.
Eat one on the table out the back.
Yeah.
I don't think it's freestone, Colleen, is it? No, it's not. It's clean.
It's interesting because that's what they're listed as.
But elephant heart is really nice. We're on the last line here. Ruby Queen is another tree that it's a bit like what was that other one? That I had before. I lost it. Scarlatina. It's a bit like Scarlatina. Ruby Pink, it's not ready yet, it's a week and a half away. Red, but it's a nice plum. Then George Wilson and Omega and McVerna and another one, Black Prince is another name, are all exactly the same plum. So you might say I've got an Omega, but it's actually a George Wilson and it's actually a McVerna. They're a red plum on the outside, a speckly sort of skin with it, speckled yellow, green, red inside. A very nice plum if you can save it from the birds, because the birds will attack George Wilson right back at Christmas time. Then damson and Stanley prune. Let's do damson first. Damson is that little wee purpley looking thing. There's a couple down the back I bought, not anywhere near ready yet, but it's the best jam plum on the planet.
Yes.
So if you want to muck around with pips and make beautiful jam, damson's what you want. Easy to grow, and if you've got a damson, they'll sucker all over the place around the tree, so you'll have 20 more trees for the sake of one. And Stanley prune is sort of a long, elongated, same sort of colour, purple on the outside and then a sort of green yellow on the inside. Stanley prune, it doesn't have as many plums on it, but damson will have quite big crops. But that's the best plum jam you could get. And at my place, the last one in is Angelina. And Angelina is a beautiful plum. Really a beautiful plum. It's right at the end, it's almost sort of first day of March, right at the end of February, early to March. Purple on the outside, a hard surface, and yellow gold inside. Absolutely gorgeous plum. Angelina.
What's its shape, Brian? Is it elongated
No,
or round?
it's like a purple king. It's more flat. You know what I mean? Quite a big plum. A big plum with a sort of a flat head on it. There are a couple down there, bigger than that, not to a point, but more to a flat head. That is a real quality plum. It's the last one on the sequence throughout the whole season. So you may very well have other varieties that I haven't got here, etc. And we are watching Lucy, and we're watching that other one that we Shiro has already been around. The gobstopper one. I'm trying to grow that. And Lockie gave me a thing called Eastbourne Road. And Eastbourne Road, I've grown now, fruited Lockie, and it's Satsuma.
It was a good one.
It was called a very good, and it's a lovely one too.
Does your gobstopper fruit already?
Pardon?
Is the gobstopper tea go?
No, I haven't got fruit on.
But
But
had
the
fruit
trees,
on, but they were all eaten by the birds. And they are pretty late.
yeah,
I would guess they are end of January or even beginning of February.
yeah.
It's just a birds
So,
reading
what
it's a vote of confidence.
So the only English ones are Coe's Golden Drop, which is very, very nice yellow, and the damson. I don't know if the standard food is English or not. Do you think anybody? I don't know. But damson certainly is. And I've abandoned Angelina, Burdette, and Green Gage and all that sort of thing. It's not cold enough up here. All of the rest are all Japanese plums.
Coe's golden plum is supposed to be a pollinator for green gage.
Yeah.
Who? What is?
Coe's
Coe's. Oh, is that
yeah,
one?
for green gage.
Yeah.
And what about Omega? Is that the
Omega's a-
pollinator
Well,
or that group?
what Omega's
Pollinator for the rest.
I think you'll find they will cross-pollinate.
probably, most of these things are just.
Whereas a lot of them are commercial, they do Omega, 20 Omegas and 5.
Would you know what is Victoria?
Yeah.
It comes under a different name.
Well, I changed sort of my Victoria around. I did 8 or 10 years of it, nothing happened. Have you got Victoria?
Well, I
think
got
it's-
it from the club here.
It's probably an English one. I grew it, but it didn't do anything, so it disappeared.
Now, with the 2 English plums that you mentioned,
Yeah.
can they be grafted onto a Japanese
Yeah, of
plum?
course, yes.
They can.
Judy?
Brian, can I just ask about the Stanley fruit? Is that a fresh eating plum or
No, it's got to be a cooking plum. It's a. There are a couple on that table out there. They're nowhere near ripe, but it's a long,
Yeah.
similar to damson, but a long elongated thing.
Trigger. Wouldn't agree to that.
Yeah.
We love it raw.
Well,
It's a European plum.
I like
correct,
it.
correct,
It's good.
correct.
It's
Yeah,
a prune, yeah.
I mean, if it stays on the tree long enough,
Yeah.
you can eat it.
Brian,
Yes.
just a point people may be interested in. I grow about 8 or 9, 10 plums,
Yeah.
and every one of them's been massacred really by the guava moth.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be one single plum, apart from the Stanley prune, the damson, and the Italian prune. So that little family have had no guava moth on them at all, but every other plum has been decimated.
Well, I also do have Italian prune plum, but there's none on it this year, so I left it off there. But I'm lucky, I suppose, where I am. I've got no guava moth at all,
No.
zero. So
I
in
think
all
it
the
has to
fruit
do with the time they are flowering and starting to fruit, because the Stanley prune and the damson are pretty late. They might miss the first generation of the guava moss as well. Similar to apple, the late apple are not affected as much by the codling moth. And it's each time when they start flowering and the early fruit, they might be affected with the first generation, and the second generation comes a little bit later. So maybe most of the early plums are affected by that.
Well, the only comparison I can say, Ran, is that my plums are clear, but I've got a number of feijoas, and last season the very first feijoa, Kaiti, had guava moth in it, and then the other ones like Unique, etc., no guava moth at all. So that's a timeline thing as well. Yeah,
I've grown my plums from cutting.
Yep.
Is that alright?
wonderful. Good for you. I do too. And I have to say, while we'll take you, we had a grafting day here in August, I think it was, and we did plums and peaches and whatnot, and the result was a disaster. I took 93 home, and we got 8 at apples, and I've got about 88-90% take. And the same people in the room are doing the grafting, so it's not about technique. So yeah, Bob,
If we want to join a different plum onto a good rootstock, say for example early jewel, at about this time of year, can you do that rind grafting? You know, I know what to do in the spring with the equal diameters with the tongue, but can you join a different plum onto, say, an early jewel at about this time of year?
Well, I've never tried grafting at this time of the year. It's just the wrong time.
Is there such a thing as
What
budding?
about budding?
Yeah, budding's another thing. One of us is going to ask Jim to teach us budding one day. But budding, you're taking wood from something about as big as your finger, slicing off and going in. Whereas what you're talking about is we've cut off a big branch of early jewel.
Yeah.
So the only thing I would be able to do is go to the skin, if you like, on the outside in August and peel that back and slide in.
In August?
I would, in August.
Yes.
Not this time of the year,
Right.
in August. And I mean, I did a tree at home. I put 7 fortune into a tree that just wasn't producing. So I just went right around and put 7 of them all the way around the thing. But I'll do that in August.
I'm wondering, we had peach rootstock, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether that's the problem, because I've got the damson you gave me many years ago. I grafted about 6 other varieties onto works. I've got another 2 plums.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's the peach rootstock.
Yeah, someone else. Someone else has said the same to me. Maybe we don't do peach rootstock, but do plum rootstock.
Yeah.
I tried quite a few of those. The only one that I was successful with was Woodland Yellow.
You mean grafting?
Yeah, Woodland Yellow.
Really? You mean all of these plums?
I've tried a Louisa, Stanley, Marabella, quite a few, but the only one that took was Woodland Yellow.
Louise is easy.
What rootstock?
The peach golden tree. I also tried a tart cherry plum, and the Louisa took, but it didn't grow well.
Okay.
Maybe we should practice with
We'll
our
practice,
suckers
yeah.
from the dancing suckers.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we need to.
Well, I think we've got, this is why we have a club, is to
Yeah.
play games. Rena.
In September, Gordon brought in a pink plum.
Yep.
And we grafted it on suckers of plums.
Yeah.
I have no idea what sort of plum it is. It's probably a seedling. And they all took.
Yeah, I did too.
So it seems to be a very vigorous one. Would you have any clue what direction that would go?
Rena, I don't know, because I've done exactly the same. I took some of the same wood that Gordon brought in, and they've all taken off, so
Yeah.
I'm waiting. Well, maybe another season, we'll know.
Yeah.
Pink plum, yeah, we don't know.
Could we say a word in memory of the great Luther Burbank?
Yes.
There's just one variety there that reminds you of him, but he was the king of stone fruit breeding at a huge nursery out in the east of the Los Angeles basin. Now, the Lockheed Aircraft Corporation has its headquarters there, Burbank, Calif. But he also produced nectarines and many novel stone fruits, taking advantage of the arrival of Japanese varieties which had not been widely. Body ever gave Luther Burbank any award or any statement of respect. They looked on him as a loose cannon who wouldn't keep proper records, but boy did he produce.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly right, that's right. Now the fruit down the back, please take it home. I don't want to take any home. There's some early apples there, cooking apples, which are Lord Nelson, big flat, like a saucer. And I brought a box of plums you can use for jam, plum, anyone want to make some jam. And the other fruit there, just take it.
And can I please ask that if people who've already taken some plums can just let other people have some now. And we also have a record to be drawn.
Ingrid, while
John.
you're there, Jackie would like me to say that some people have taken plant but she thinks have not paid for it. And I think there could be some people who have not paid their $2 if they